a quiet little girl walking home from school until a police car pulled up beside her. The officer laughed when she mentioned her mom was in the Special Forces, calling it the funniest lie he'd ever heard. To him, she was just another kid making up stories. But in a few moments, the laughter would stop, because the truth, and the woman behind it, was about to shake his entire world. What happens when the person you mock turns out to be someone you should have respected all along? Amara was only 12, but she carried herself with the quiet confidence her mother had taught her. Living in a small suburban town, she often stood out, not just because she was one of the few black kids at her school, but because she refused to let anyone make her feel small. Her mother, Captain Naomi Brooks, had raised her with discipline, love, and pride, values that came from years of military service. Every morning, Amara walked to school past the same coffee shop, the same row of houses, the same patrol car that seemed to always slow down when she passed. Most days, she ignored it. But deep down, she noticed how the officers' smiles often carried a hint of something else: amusement, doubt, judgment. That afternoon was no different. Amara was wearing her mom's old military-style bracelet, proud of the woman who'd dedicated her life to serving her country. When the police car stopped beside her, she thought maybe they were asking for directions. But the laughter that followed told her otherwise. It started small, a snicker from the driver's seat, a smirk from his partner, until it became a full chuckle. They didn't believe her. A little black girl with a mom in Special Forces? To them, that was a joke. What Amara didn't know was that her quiet strength and her mother's reputation were about to collide with the arrogance of those who underestimated them both. And when that happened, everyone on that street would remember her name. The laughter lingered in the air like a bad smell. Amara froze, clutching her backpack straps, her heart pounding. One of the officers leaned out of the window, his sunglasses reflecting her small frame on the sidewalk. "Special Forces, huh?" he said, mocking her words. "You sure she's not special in some other way?" His partner chuckled, shaking his head. They thought it was funny, just another story they could tell later at the station. But for Amara, every second felt heavier, sharper. The people passing by slowed down, glancing at the scene but saying nothing. The silence of bystanders always hurt the most. She tried to walk away, but the cruiser rolled forward, matching her pace. "Hey, don't walk off. We're just asking questions," the driver said, pretending concern. But his tone dripped with mockery. Amara's voice trembled but held firm. "My mom serves this country. She's done more for people like you than you'll ever know." That sentence, innocent but defiant, was enough to change the air. The smile vanished from the officer's face. He stepped out, slamming the car door, towering over her. "Watch your tone, young lady." "Don't lie to officers." The second cop stayed inside, radioing something quietly. Amara's throat tightened. She hadn't done anything wrong, but she knew how quickly situations like this could turn dangerous. Her mom's words echoed in her mind. "Stay calm. Don't give them a reason." Minutes felt like hours. The officer demanded her address, her school ID, even called her a troublemaker. He accused her of making up stories to sound important. People still watched, but nobody spoke. Then, as if fate was listening, a black SUV turned the corner. It slowed, the window rolling down just enough for Amara to see a familiar face. Her mom, Captain Naomi Brooks. The officers didn't notice at first. They were too busy lecturing a 12-year-old about respecting authority. But Naomi saw everything: the mocking posture, the intimidation, her daughter's trembling hands. She stepped out, her boots hitting the pavement with precision. The sunlight caught the military insignia on her sleeve, one that carried weight, one that demanded respect. Amara didn't move. The officer turned, annoyed. "Ma'am, this doesn't concern you," he started to say, but it did. More than he could ever imagine. Naomi's calm, controlled voice cut through the tension. "That's my daughter you're talking to?" The color drained from his face. His partner's smirk faded instantly. The same laughter that filled the air moments ago now vanished into an uneasy silence. And just as the tension peaked, a convoy vehicle rolled into view, part of Naomi's unit returning from a training exercise. Soldiers stepped out, exchanging salutes as they recognized her. The street that once echoed with mockery now stood frozen. And in that silence, Amara realized, sometimes justice doesn't need to shout. It just needs to arrive. For a moment, no one spoke. The officer's confidence drained as Captain Naomi Brooks stepped closer, her eyes locked on him, steady, sharp, unblinking. The weight of her presence was enough to silence an entire street. "Is there a reason my daughter is being questioned?" she asked, her voice calm but edged with authority. She didn't raise her tone. She didn't need to. Years of commanding soldiers had given her a power that didn't rely on volume. The officer stammered, searching for words. We were just making sure she was okay. She said something about me?" Naomi cut in, stepping closer. The faint sound of boots from her unit echoed behind her, soldiers waiting at ease but ready. "She told you her mother serves in the Special Forces." "You found that funny?" No one laughed now. The second officer looked away, muttering under his breath. The first one's hands fidgeted nervously at his belt. He opened his mouth again, but Naomi raised a hand, a subtle motion, but one that instantly silenced him. "You see?" she said, her tone softening as she turned to Amara. "Some people forget what respect looks like until they're reminded who earned it." Amara's eyes filled with tears. Not of fear, but of pride. Naomi faced the officers again, pulling a small folder from her jacket. Inside were credentials, real, undeniable proof of who she was. Special Forces, commendations, service medals. When the officer saw the documents, his expression collapsed completely. The same man who mocked a child now struggled to hold her mother's gaze. "You serve this country too, officer," Naomi said quietly. "Start acting like it." She took her daughter's hand and walked away, not with anger but with strength. Behind them, the officers stood frozen in the shadow of the truth they tried to laugh off. And as Amara looked back one last time, she realized something powerful. Sometimes, the loudest victory comes from silence that demands respect. The next day, whispers spread through the town, whispers that carried both shame and awe. People who had once ignored the laughter now spoke about the silence that followed. The same officers who had mocked a little girl were suddenly quieter, more cautious, almost humbled by the truth they had tried to belittle. For Amara, the moment changed everything. She'd always looked up to her mother, but now she understood what real strength looked like, not just in medals or uniforms, but in dignity. Her mom didn't shout, didn't seek revenge. She simply stood firm in her truth and let her integrity speak louder than their mockery ever could. In the days that followed, Naomi received messages from people who had witnessed the scene, some apologizing for staying silent, others thanking her for reminding them that respect shouldn't depend on race, gender, or rank. But for every person who learned something, there were still those who didn't. Those who laughed behind closed doors. Those who couldn't accept that a black woman could serve her country and command respect at the same time. That's the quiet battle people like Naomi and Amara face every day. The battle not just to be seen, but to be believed. Racism doesn't always come with shouting or violence. Sometimes it comes as a laugh, a smirk, a doubt that cuts deeper than words. And maybe that's what we all need to ask ourselves. How many truths have we laughed at before understanding them? How many people have we judged before hearing their story? Because respect shouldn't have to be earned through proof. It should start with humanity.